If you're not a publicist and you want to know how you can get your client in magazines and online media sources, I'm going to tell you how. Here is pitching media for beginners. Organic media placement is still one of the most powerful forms of media that you can get. Even though there's advertising and there's social media and all that stuff, hearing it from someone else who's an authority in the industry just does nothing but good things for you. You want to determine what your story is. So you're really going to have to put a critical thinking cap on and say, what is something that is marketable to a news platform? And chances are just the fact that you have a product is not a story alone. This is where publicists come in. We typically craft stories for you. We don't make things up, but we find what is notable in your brand and what we think is something that's going to be picked up in media. Now, if you have a brand new product, you might think that that's newsworthy enough because it's news, it's new, but is it really innovative? Is it really something that the world has never seen before? Is it really a game changer? These are questions you're gonna have to ask yourself. An example of that is an old client of mine called Fragrance Lock. They had a new, never seen formula that made your fragrance last longer. This is a new beauty category that never existed before. And that's one of the few instances where you can just pitch a product and expect kind of traction. And it did end up getting a lot of press. Now, if you do have a product and it's not new, it's something the world has seen before, you're probably like, well then how am I going to get media placement? And I'm going to say that's a whole nother video, but there are ways to go about it. We'll skip that. Right now we're just going to talk about the process of pitching. Let's say you have a story. You want to start to build a list. You're going to start to build a list of publications that you think could cover your topic. Now, chances are if you're a business owner and you've been researching this industry for a while, you know kind of where to find news outlets that talk about that subject. You want to make a list of those and then create a list against that of editors and writers who cover that topic. Now, if you're not a publicist and you don't have those relationships kind of already established, you can use Cision, which is very pricey but very helpful. It's a database of contact information for editors, producers, writers, all sorts of people that you want to have good connects with. There's also Meltwater, which is not my favorite, but some people have used it. I've used it also. They're all really pricey. You could expect to pay a couple $1,000s for those. Relationships are not built via email solely. I mean, yeah, it's great that we're like in a virtual world, but you're gonna have to meet up with people at certain points, and that's the fun part of PR, I think. It's better than being behind the computer all damn day. But finding the right editor is gonna be super duper important. You're gonna be reading these people's stories all day long for quite a while to figure out their tone, what interests them, what doesn't interest them, and really kind of get to know them via the internet before you even think about pitching. When I had to create media lists, it was a grueling process. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I still have to create them sometimes. It's really important to have a human on board for this type of process. You want somebody who's like vetting all of their content, finding out what makes them tick, what their interests are, if they tend to write features, if they're writing features, are there features about a specific topic? If they write about beauty, are they mostly covering hair products? Or are they, you know, all these things kind of matter. It'll save you a whole bunch of time and disappointment later down the line when you actually start pitching and they don't respond to you. The last thing you want to do is kind of just be firing out hundreds and hundreds of emails on some sort of mail merge that they can totally tell that you didn't take the time to research who they are and what they talk about. You're not going to get any traction that way. It's a waste of time. Don't do it. Please don't spam people. PR is not spam. It just doesn't work. After you have your list, you want to go ahead and add them on Twitter. Follow them on Twitter if you haven't already. If you don't have a Twitter, you should probably create one just for this reason, to just kind of connect with the media, respond and engage with their content, especially if it's relevant to your industry. You want to be retweeting, liking, responding, sharing, whatever. If they like that, it's a great way to kind of build a relationship with them. After you have your editors that you have vetted very carefully, now you're going to research the submission guidelines for that publication. Depending on how small or how big the publication is, it might not always be readily available, but typically if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of like any HERS site, you'll find an editorial calendar in the About Us section. And the editorial calendar will tell you what topics they're covering on specific months, and something very important, the lead time. So most magazines work on a 3 to 6 month lead time. So Cosmopolitan magazine, right now it is, what month is it? It's April. They might be working on their July issue. So you're going to be pitching way in advance. There is absolutely no way that if you hire a PR team, they're going to get you in Mary Claire magazine, the print version, tomorrow. It's just not going to happen unless they're paying for advertising space. Not all media works on 3 to 6 month lead time. Of course, there's online, which works maybe a few days or sometimes a week in advance. But even they have editorial calendars, so if you don't have a pressing kind of time-sensitive story, you could pitch somebody at Forbes.com today and you won't see it for another 3 weeks or a month later. Then there are dailies. If you become besties at somebody like US Weekly, Entertainment Weekly, you can get your product in a magazine seemingly like overnight, 2 days. It's happened to me, and it's wonderful when it does, especially when you need a quick hit.
Where